Welcome back, everybody. Wanted to talk about Rise of the Ronin and break down a couple of key things to help you understand what this game is offering. I do have a deep dive into the expectations, but today I want to kind of shake off expectations instead of actually let you know what to expect. We do have a video of that, so go check that out. Right now, we're going to shake off a lot of things. First and foremost, this is a Team Ninja game and they make spectacular action based games. This game will have all of that, and we'll get into some of it in a minute. But I also wanted to touch on the open world and different things of that nature, kind of help you understand what you should expect with this game going forward as we continue. With that in mind, I do want to touch on some other games. There's been getting compared to this and rightfully so to a certain extent, an open world game, right? You can compare any open world to it. I get it. But as I cough to laughter, I think that you got to separate other games and be able to understand things are done differently and it's a different experience depending on who's making that open world. Regardless of similar mechanics, if you put it all together, it's like mixing up food. The different seasoning and the way you cook it can be totally different. So, with that in mind, let's get into it. So, Rise of the Ronin is incredible for Team Ninja's action based gameplay. We're going to get into that in a second, but there's been a lot of comparisons to Ghost of Tsushima because it's in Japan, and I guess that's pretty much it. And it's an open world game. And as far as that, that's as far as it goes, in my opinion. And we'll touch on why in a moment, and I'll get into it. But here we go. First and foremost, Rise of the Ronin has two main characters. You're going to be able to swap between them during your gameplay, in the middle of a fight, basically, for certain story parts. And that is a very interesting concept. And you get to create your character. So it's going to be to your liking. It's going to look like whatever you want it to look like. And I personally think that alone makes it stand out because Ghost of Tsushima is with a character named Jin, and you can't change anything other than his outfits, his face, or anything. You're not going to be able to make a customized character. You also can't play as a secondary character or anything like that. Okay? Just know that. Secondly, when it comes to traversal, you're looking at top tier stuff from Rise of the Ronin. Rise of the Ronin has a glider. You're going to be able to glide in the air to get to different places, which also combining that with your grapple hook is going to allow you to get up high quickly, stay high consistently. And then, of course, you can still ride a horse as well. So those are the three main ways you're going to be able to traverse with Rise of the Ronin. Meanwhile, Ghost of Tsushima just has one horse, and that's pretty much the only way to get up. There is the grapple hook, but it's only for going up above to a high ground. Okay. Now into the open world conversation, and I was making some examples while I was playing Ghost of Tsushima and talking about Rise of the Ronin. I was teaching people that in Ghost of Tsushima, to me, is the greatest samurai game without a doubt. I have no question of that. But they have very simple and very silly mechanics. If somebody was on an elevator explaining, "Hey, there's this game. What can you do in the open world?" In Ghost of Tsushima, they'll tell you, "Hey, oh yeah, you're gonna see a fox and it's gonna jump around for your attention. You should go to it and follow it around until it leads you to a hot spring where you can take a bath. You end up getting naked and going inside of there." People will be like, "What? That sounds silly." And then the same game has birds, and you'll follow that bird, and it's going to lead you to a resting area for you to meditate and say a poem. And now people are going to look at you like, "What? It's a samurai game, dude? What are you talking about?" And if you don't play the game, you'll think, "Oh, that's not good." But I love that stuff. Okay, so I'm defending Ghost of Tsushima's open world, but it does have its very typical aspects. All right, even though they made some really good designs, like I said, cooking it all together in a certain way to experience it has some good aspects. Ghost of Tsushima is really about the invasion from the Mongol army, and it's you and the island people against these Mongols. Okay, everybody wants to take them out. No matter what other little situations you have, you can't build relationships, you can't do a lot of stuff. And it's very limited to that. You can work with your allies if you feel like it, but you could just finish the story. But that's as far as that goes. When it comes to Rise of the Ronin, you're actually able to build relationships. You're actually able to train with people, unlock new skills and abilities and weapons and much more, which adds value to your gameplay experience for the open world where you can actually have a lot of time in game doing these things to build better relationships, branching narratives, multiple endings. It's a good, fun mechanic. And the world is very interesting because of those dynamics of the shogunate, the anti shogunate, the actual Western forces, and more. There's a bunch of factions out there for you guys. So if you want to look into what, aspects you want to set up and how you want to play that. Personally, I love it. And now, let's talk about some more gameplay things. The melee weapons. Guess what? In Ghost of Tsushima, all you have is your katana and a knife. Those are your two melee weapons, and that's all you have when it comes to regular melee. And with Rise of the Ronin, you're gonna have nine plus nine over nine different weapons that you're gonna be able to utilize and put to work. And they all have different fighting styles, and they all have different abilities you can equip, the different, not only just different stances, but different attacks within those stances as well. As you build relationships and bonds, you'll be able to unlock a lot more. Okay, that is critical. Very cool. Okay, something personally I'm really loving. And so you're gonna make your own build and have really dynamic experience from spears, kunai, dual blades, great swords, and so on. Okay, and then now I want to get into another part that's important is the ranged weapons. When it comes to Ghost of Tsushima, there's very cool mechanics. They're not very, you couldn't consider them exactly long range or anything, but they have ranged weapons like smoke bombs and kunai, things like that that you're going to be able to throw. And it's badass. It's very awesome mechanic, very great tools. Okay. Rise of the Ronin, on top of having some of these, it's going to have actual rifles, pistols, shotguns, cannons, even machine guns that we've seen in some of these trailers and footage that's going to be top tier and give you a good time. Personally, I'm loving all of that. Okay. So the reason why I'm doing this video somewhat like in a comparison is because I want to shake off the narratives that this game is typical. I do have the video where you can know what to expect. I think it's probably more important than this when it comes to context. But this one is kind of shaking off Ghost of Tsushima because these are two different games and you should not compare them in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion. All right. All right. So now, when it comes to combat and systems, Ghost of Tsushima again has the attack, the heavy attack, the parry, and that's pretty much the main techniques. You can do standoffs, which are pretty much the samurai way of fighting, and then those are, or you can go stealth, right? And that's pretty much everything that Ronin can do. But with Ronin, you have way more combat abilities. I'm talking about critical hits. I'm talking about the counter parry system. It's brand new, actually. We got a lot to talk about with that game. And there's a big, deep layer of the martial arts attacks and the different stances and using those two in combination compared to the Ghost of Tsushima. So that's going to be interesting. And I'm excited about that. And this new parry system is not just a parry. It's called counter spark, but it's actually an attack that you can actually hit and hurt enemies at the same time. Instead of actually just trying to parry, you can be active within the parry and do attacks as well. So that is a cool system that I think could be very interesting as we go forward. But yeah, so that's some of the stuff that I absolutely love, and I think that could be interesting. And the stances is unique because with this stance system, you're going to be able to do more damage, but it's specific to different enemy types, and both the games kind of have that feature. And what I like most is that you have the variety to equip different things with Rise of the Ronin, and that's very interesting. Okay, so I'm pretty much very excited about the combat, to be honest with you guys. And speaking of combat, you have the grapple hook, which you don't have that for combat when it comes to Ghost of Tsushima. You do have it in Rise of the Ronin, and you're going to be able to grapple enemies during the fight. You can literally break their stamina and throw them away, which you're going to watch a clip of that happen and see it multiple times throughout my conversation here where you do that and throw them around. It's hilarious. It's fun. It's interesting. Dynamics of what we're going to be able to do as players. And I think, personally, I'm going to love it. Absolutely love it. And speaking of that, we want to talk more about the companions. Okay. There's plenty of companions in both games. When you're on a mission for Ghost of Tsushima, you can do some side missions and some main missions, and there'll be some characters with you. You can't swap to them the way you can in Rise of the Ronin, and you can't actually um, play as them and build a relationship with them the way you can in Rise of the Ronin. It's going to be a very unique system where you're building your bond, you're building your trust, and it all comes together, intertwining the campaign and the gameplay. Because the more you unlock with them, the better off you and they will be because you're going to buff your bonds and unlock specific unique elements. Okay. So that's just going to be super amazing when that mechanic gets mastered by us players and we figure out how to really dominate when we get out there and make it happen. So I absolutely love it and I think it's very cool mechanic. Now I don't want to talk about the multiple endings too deep, but Ghost of Tsushima only has basically two, but it's pretty much the same ending. Regardless of what you choose, it'll end the same. And with Rise of the Ronin, at the moment, with all these factions and relationships that you can build or not build, it can be a variation of endings. But what's dope about it is that all the branching narratives, and I made a big video about this, and you can go check that out after. But basically, the branching narratives, the ability to actually either lie and persuade someone or maybe intimidate somebody into doing something or not doing something. And all of those aspects are going to play a big role in the story for Rise of the Ronin. It's a deep layered system. I think that's going to be fun and interesting as we go forward. Okay. And another thing, Ghost of Tsushima has a very cool co op, but it's not for the open world and it's not for the full game. It's its own story, it's its own raid, and even a competitive, which I think it's some of the best co-op we've seen in all of gaming. With Ronin, it lets you play through the story and they'll let you actually experience the game fully with an actual player. So you're going to be able to play through the main story co-op. And it's going to be interesting how that plays out and how it all goes forward. Loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. And to kind of touch on a couple of other topics when it comes to this game, I didn't talk about it at the beginning because I wanted to kind of leave some of it for the end. These are two different time periods, guys. Not the same period, and it's very different areas. Okay, we're talking about Tsushima, which is an island, and it's in the 1200s from my memory. This happened years ago, and then Rise of the Ronin is actually 1800s. So it's way advanced with different technology and in a whole different era of Japan. Also, the locations are very different. This is the mainland of Japan and everything that's been going on there. Plus, they have historical characters in Rise of the Ronin compared to Some have some in Ghost of Tsushima. And again, I don't want to crap on Ghost of Tsushima. I hope you guys don't take that as what I'm doing here, but I wanted to shake off the conversation because a lot of my viewers on my streams have been saying, "Oh, you get that Ghost of Tsushima game," and I'm like, "This is definitely not." And I think the creators of Ghost of Tsushima would probably say that's definitely not us. They have their own special, amazing game, and it's not to say that Rise of the Ronin will be bad, but it just means they're different. You know, two different kind of things. So yeah, just know that. And an example of why I brought up the locations is Ghost of Tsushima's more forests, and villages, while Ronin will have lots of cities, actual buildings and structures and infrastructures that are very well established. And so it's a different time, different era. You're gonna have a different type of traversal and experience visually than you would for that period of time. But there's plenty of stuff, and I mean, like a lot of different comparisons that I've been hearing. This is an Assassin's Creed game in Japan, and hey, that would be amazing. I've been wanting an Assassin's Creed game in Japan. So anybody trying to think that that's disrespectfully trolling, it's not. And actually, Assassin's Creed games are fun. There's some really great ones that I absolutely love, and I cannot wait to see a Japan Assassin's Creed game. So hey, more power to you. But for now, if this is Assassin's Creed, this is doing more than Assassin's Creed game does when it comes to the RPG systems and the different elements that they're providing and the way that they're working. Okay. So have the understanding that this game is bigger, better in some regards. It's going to do more than those games. Now, is it the greatest game ever? And will it be like the game of the year? Or will it surpass those other games in my top 10 or something? I don't know. I can't even consider that until I play it. But what I'm saying is that it's a different experience and my mind is open to what I'm going to experience. I have a video breaking down what to expect exactly. This is more like a shake it off, stop all the nonsense and actually play the game for what it is. Okay? So, take a look, go deeper down the rabbit hole, understand the system, and you should be good to go. Right? Enjoy yourself. See you on the next one. The video should be popping up right now about the actual truth about this game and true expectations. Check it out.